Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
You weren't at the mic and ready at that. You were like 5 feet away from the microphone.
That's because I thought, because I was in tangents mode, and I thought Hank was gonna be like, "I'm your host, Hank, and joining me as always." That's what it was.
You thought you had some more time before you had to talk.
In my head, I know exactly how long it takes for him to say that, so then I can come
Yeah,
here.
my intro was long.
I've got time to go get a snack. I'll come back.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't listened to Commitment before, this is a show where Sam and I have made the most intimate and unbreakable pledge two people can make, which is, of course, to watch every single piece of Muppet-related media we can get our hands on in chronological order. We've been doing it for 4 years now. We've made it up to 1988.
We've been doing it for 4 years.
Yeah, we've got our 4-year anniversary special episode coming up, Sam.
Wow, that hasn't really sunk in, I suppose.
Yeah, well, it will when we're doing like a 4-hour episode with our anniversary, because we are doing a Muppet Madness bracket where we are taking all 128 Muppet of the Weeks that we've talked about before and determining, I don't know if it's the best or our favorite.
The best Muppet.
The best.
Yeah, the best.
You just gotta believe in yourselves, guys.
I think we're pretty qualified to say
You
which
spent
one's
4
the
years
best
at
one.
this.
I think the problem is it's really easy to predict that we're just going to say Rolf, like from the start. And I don't want to set it up that way.
Yeah.
That we're just going to land on Rolf.
Well,
I think even if we land on Rolf.
You've just ruined that.
Oh, no, I think everyone knows that our favorite Muppet is Rolf. But I think it's the journey along the way.
But maybe you'll find out there's a better Muppet.
Yeah,
that's
could
true.
Be. I'm keeping my heart open to it.
There are 127 other Muppets on there, and it's
a
all
lot
Muppets.
of them are bad. A lot of them are very good.
Yeah,
it is.
If you got into the 120s, you know you picked out some ones who didn't win.
Well, it's 128 Muppets that we have seen and things we've watched so far.
Yeah.
So like Muppets that were introduced in the 90s or the 2000s, like aren't on there.
There's no Abby Cadabby in this.
No Abby Cadabby. We haven't seen her yet.
Gonger.
No Clifford.
Gonger,
no Gonger.
Gonger could give Rolf a run for his money. I think there's a Fraggle in there that could maybe be a spoiler for
some
Rolf.
Real good Fraggles.
Yeah. But it's I'm hoping, there'll be enough of the easy decisions versus the hard conversations that it won't take 4 hours for us to record that episode, but who knows?
Yeah. Then
we'll
you
see.
don't have to edit it, so.
If it comes down to it, maybe we'll do a 2-part.
That's like an
anniversary
8-hour edit, man.
Yeah. When we stop recording, my brain shuts off. Of like, it's all done.
As we're recording, I watch the time tick up and think, "Dear God,
oh boy,
what is my life
Every
become?
minute is 2 minutes.
How did it get this bad?"
Does it take you double a podcast length to edit a podcast?
It takes me
Is
that.
it about that?
I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if that's normal, but I'm pretty stringent
my
about
big trick
the edit.
for speed is to not care.
See, that's the opposite of our
My
our
big
theory
issue
here.
is that this is already on the razor's edge of something. No offense, I'm embarrassed to be doing that. At least it needs to sound really good and funny.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I love doing it, Matt. I love doing it. But if I did a bad Muppet podcast and I said, "Hey guys, I'm a Muppet podcaster. I've been doing it for 4 years," and people listened and went, "Oh boy," then that would be pretty bad for me.
We are technically an award-winning podcast for our editing from the Muppet Twitter Awards
That's right.
a couple years
Two-time,
ago.
I think maybe.
I think we maybe won the best podcast editing 2 years in a row, thanks to Sam. And it's, I always tell our guests that, if you say something stupid, if you need to rethink a thought and go back and say it again, don't worry. Sam's number one job.
You didn't tell me that.
Well, I assume you just kind of know that.
Yeah, when you say something stupid and you want me to cut it out, I put it in a little folder on my desk.
As I say, or you leave it in the podcast because it's funnier to have you mess it up. Clearly, we have a guest who we have not introduced yet.
Oh, hi.
His name's in the title of the episode, I'm sure. You hear his voice, you know who he is. And even though I did lay out how this podcast works, this week we are actually not here to discuss any specific Muppet media. Instead, we are here with a guest, someone who I am honestly surprised it has taken this long to have on the podcast. He is our friend. He is our boss. He is the husband of a former podcast guest, Catherine Green, and the internet's guy who answers questions on various video platforms.
I love that.
It's Hank Green.
There's something really great about a stupid question. And we're going to have a bunch of them today. That you can just kind of go wherever you want with it.
Mm-hmm.
No, wherever you want within some boundaries. But man, did I find some weird stuff out while doing research on Muppet genetics. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, the fun thing is that we've discovered through the 4 years of doing this podcast that it's really hard to nail down with any certainty any sort of Muppet canon and like what counts as a canon, because most of the time the Muppets are just saying, oh, we're actors who made a movie or we're actors who made a TV show. Yeah. And so trying to unravel of like, when are they actually the real Muppets? And is it just when they're on talk shows talking about what they've done?
4 times we've actually seen real Kermit the Frog.
Right.
Yeah, they're just like layers and layers of acting.
Because sometimes it is
like they're
nesting
acting, like they're acting, like they're acting.
Exactly. Yeah. Like in the Muppet movie, they're watching a movie of them in a movie, but that's also a movie because they go on talk shows and say, that was our movie. It was all a movie.
We made a movie within a movie. Aren't we smart?
Yeah.
I think you guys are going to get to it eventually, that there is like a base lore there. And it might not be that you get to it mathematically where you finally find the true Muppet being themselves. But the base lore might actually be the absurd.
I think it's the base lore is in like the late 50s. A young gentleman named Jim Henson sewed together a little guy.
Yeah. Well, I think that what I thought about, when we're gonna get to Muppet Christmas Carol, where Kermit and Piggy have children and they are either frogs or pigs, but not both.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, that says that there is a lore here, and the lore is whatever's funniest.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That is often where we land as well. Of like, why did they make that decision? And they're like, well, because it was the best, like, funniest.
It is a great joke.
Yes.
Sometimes it just bothers me that Jim couldn't be like, and this is what it is. And that he would like the same dude wrote like every Muppet thing forever, and that there wasn't a point where and Fraggle Rock
it's
is
not
kind of
Star Wars, man.
Like Fraggle Rock is pretty good with its lore. I mean, there's moments where it's like, what are you talking about? But it's pretty consistent, has pretty consistent characterization. They learn and stuff like that. So maybe that was just him taking out all his frustrations about the Muppets not doing that or something. But sometimes it's just like, man, come on. You remember this. You only wrote this 20 years ago. Yeah. You remember Gonzo doesn't know how to do that.
They didn't have their own internet back then. They couldn't look up their own.
Yeah, there wasn't like a Muppet Wiki.
Muppet Wiki didn't exist yet.
You know, at SciShow, we oftentimes get like 2/3 of the way through a pitch before realizing we've done an episode before.
That's an important step, is feverishly Googling SciShow plus whatever word. And
I mean, Sam, we just actually had this recently. We were doing a catch-up episode watching things that we missed over the past 4 years. Yeah. And in the process, we watched some things that we were both a little confused as to whether or not we had seen before. Yeah, so we actually have already forgotten over 4 years we have and have not seen. Also, speaking of Muppet Wiki, I understand why, but the fact that Hank has a Muppet Wiki page and we don't, Sam.
I have a Muppet. Why do I have a Muppet Wiki page? What did I do? Did I like hang out with a Muppet once?
Yeah, you talked to Big Bird on Project for Awesome.
Shoot.
And because of that, You have a Muppet Wiki page, and so does John because he hung out with Elmo at VidCon once.
Yep. Yes, I saw that. I was in the audience. They should put that in Muppet Wiki.
Wow, Dave the Fish is on the Muppet Wiki, the Project for Awesome mascot from that year, in the background of my photo from the live stream.
Oh, yeah.
And if Dave the Fish is there and you guys aren't, that's wow.
To be fair, you can search us and find us on there under the podcast list.
You're in the list, but you don't have your own page.
Correct.
There's no commitment page.
There's no commitment page. There's no Matt and Sam page.
But like, isn't that like has to be a structure to the wiki, right? It has to be related.
There's rules. I understand it. But
so you guys have to have actual Elmo on.
Yeah.
And
not
then
just
Ryan Dillon.
Who plays
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to unravel something, which I feel like in some cases we've added to the lore a little bit. I know for a fact we are referenced in some of the like conversational parts of like, how do we know this? Oh, because Kermit referenced it and talked about it. But I think we would have to have something happen on our show.
Yeah.
From a puppeteer, from Elmo or whatever.
Yeah.
Saying something to get tagged. Yeah. But one day I feel like we're on our way.
What was it like talking to Big Bird?
It was interesting because there was kind of rules. It wasn't really rules. It was like, don't talk to Big Bird like Big Bird is an adult. Big Bird they like told me, I can't remember exactly what it was, but they told me how old Big Bird is, and to talk to Big Bird as if Big Bird was a 6-year-old or whatever. And that was kind of hard because Big Bird is not the size of a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Much larger, actually.
Yeah. Bigger than a human. Bigger than an adult man.
It's tall. It's almost as if he's the height of an adult man with his hand above his head.
It's like that high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like I kind of slipped on that once or twice in that conversation.
Well, I feel like the trap with that is that you talk to Big Bird like a kid, and then sometimes he talks back to you like he's a smart ass adult, and you're like, oh, boy.
Yeah, like that's a big word for Elmo.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
we talked to Ryan Dillon about that a bit when he was on the podcast of how, like, you know, in certain scenarios, if you're on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, you're not quite a 3.5-year-old in that moment. You can be a bit of a 35-year-old.
Yeah. It was mostly interesting from that angle of being like, oh, so like I am being invited to participate in the universe, and that's pretty cool.
So you might be guessing based on the title and based on some of the things we've slipped in here so far into the conversation that we did bring Hank here for a reason this week, and that is to answer your Muppet science questions. We put out the call on all the various social media platforms that have not yet burned down to ask you for some questions for Hank. And you guys sent in some great ones.
But before we get to the questions for me, can we get to my questions for everyone?
Oh,
so you're listening to this. This is important to me.
Why?
All right.
Is that the question? Why?
Why this podcast?
No, I get it. So you're listening to this because you like Muppets and you maybe know more than average about Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
I have, and I've talked to Matthew and Sam about this before. I have in my head an episode of the Muppet Babies in which there is, and I don't, maybe this isn't a Muppet Babies episode, maybe it's not even Muppets, but it's something. I swear I can see it, but that's how memory works, right?
Yeah.
Where the plot point is that something bad is going to happen, and everybody knows that this outcome is somewhat inevitable, but then someone remembers someone in their past saying, if there's a will, there's a way. And that was a saying that I think maybe never heard before when I watched this television show because I was a child. And then they end up finding somehow in like a cubby or like stored in the wall an actual last will and testament of a person that solved the problem that they were having, which was maybe that the orphanage was going to get sold or something like that. And then for many years after, I thought that if there's a will, there's a way meant if there is a last will and testament, there is a way, which is really sort of an ultra specific saying for there to be so many people who have said it in the past.
But does feel like a thing, you know, from everything we have looked into, it does not seem like there is a Muppet Babies episode where they find Nanny's will. But
she should write one though. She seems like she's pretty old.
Well, she's also got a lot of babies that someone would have to take care of if something bad happened to her.
Yeah.
And she's got a baby there that eats furniture. So, you know, something bad could happen to her if he just went feral one day. But when you first said this to us, which was, I think, early days of us doing this podcast, I was like, oh, that sounds believable enough. And like the idea that the babies could confuse.
I mean, they could imagine
away.
finding it.
Yeah, but
maybe it's like an episode of the Rugrats, you know, like it does seem like the plot point of a show about babies.
Right. Because I understand the confusion between where there's a will, there's a way, and then finding a will and being like, well, there must be a way.
Yeah.
Like we found the will.
It's just like the kind of pun that a television writer would base an episode around.
Yeah. This is one of the, you know, I try to resist using ChatGPT very often, but I thought, you know, Google has...
This is the exact thing ChatGPT is terrible at. It will be like, I know the answer, here it is. And it's like, oh, that's an episode of Tailspin that's about a monkey getting gonorrhea.
Well, now there's a spec script we can write. But yeah, no, because I could not find this anywhere on Google, my last resort was ChatGPT, just to be like, you know, if there is anywhere in the world that this is a thing, maybe
stored
it
in its dusty old memory banks.
And so I was just trying to find, like, is there anything about a cartoon with a will? And of course, ChatGPT did exactly what you said. When I asked, is there an episode about a will? It was like, oh yeah, there's an episode called this. And I was like, well, we watched that episode, actually. It's not about that. And ChatGPT's like, oh yeah, you're right. It's not about that. It's actually about this. And I was like, okay, well, is there a different episode about a will? And they're like, yeah, this one. And I'm like, nope, I've also seen that one. And so it really was just like, it could think of episodes of Muppet Babies that existed.
It was like, you want me to say an episode of the Muppet Babies, and I'm going to say an episode of the Muppet Babies.
Yeah. My favorite thing, though, is it took the title and the rough idea of a real episode of Muppet Babies and was like, here's how that could be about a will.
Yeah.
Because I asked them, and they said the episode Scooter's Uncommon Cold from season 2.
Oh, yeah.
It says, in this episode, Scooter is bedridden with a cold and writes a will because he believes he might not recover. This triggers a series of imaginative scenarios as the other babies interpret his actions. Key moments include the babies imagine what their lives would be like if they inherited Scooter's belongings.
Oh my
God. And then, the episode ultimately resolves with Scooter recovering, and he realizes that writing a will was an overreaction, much to the relief of his friends.
Wow.
That does seem like something Scooter would do.
Yeah, but not on Muppet Babies.
But also not in that episode at all. They go into his body, like the adventure, the body adventure.
Oh, like they do a Magic School Bus situation?
Yep. It's a Magic School Bus kind of thing. Yeah, They love going in each other's bodies.
There is. It also did imagine that the episode "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Dark" would somehow be about a will. This one says the babies find what they think is a will written by Nanny. This discovery leads them to imagine scenarios about what would happen if Nanny left them, sparking their fears and prompting them to explore themes of abandonment and friendship.
Heck yeah, that's a great episode of Muppet Babies. Going real deep.
That sounds inspirational.
So this episode, it says, is filled with classic Muppet Babies humor and fantasy sequences, showcasing each character's unique perspective and fears. Kermit imagines trying to take on the responsibility of being the group's caretaker. Miss Piggy envisions herself as the glamorous but overburdened leader of the group. Fozzie worries about being left without someone to comfort him when his jokes flop. And Gonzo imagines increasingly wacky scenarios, reflecting his quirky personality.
See, this is why ChatGPT is terrible at Google, but it is a little bit of a how useful is that going to be for a television writer? Like maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
for a baby show.
Yeah,
like honestly, there are episodes we watch where they bring in new writers in like season 3 or 4, and we're watching this and we're like, oh, I think they watched one first season episode of Muppet Babies and based their entire plot off of what they learned in that episode because it reverts the babies all to their most base like traits. And
or like treats
things
else. Like running jokes that have not been running jokes. It's like they made that joke once and in season 1. That's so weird that they remembered it. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, they just probably got a VHS or whatever that had like 2 episodes of Muppet Babies.
And write some episodes of this show.
Yeah, well,
so if you have any idea what I'm talking about, please let me know.
Yeah, mail@commitment.com.
You guys watched every episode of Muppet Babies?
Not yet. We're over halfway through.
Okay.
But we've still got a couple seasons left.
And I do think we've asked people in our audience, and they have said this is not a real episode already.
All right. Well, I'm willing to expand and just say, if you were born in 1980 and you remember anything like this,
I was going to
ask, have a similar memory.
What year you were watching this kind of television? Like
probably in the like late 80s.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd say if there's anyone out there that strikes a chord with, that something like that sounds familiar, please email us at mail@commitment.com and we will pass that information along to Hank to solve this 40-year-old mystery. But before we get into the questions that we have for you, I'm curious, before us asking you to come on this podcast, how much do you think about Muppets? Are you a Muppet fan? What are your favorite pieces of Muppet media? Did you grow up watching Muppet stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up. I watched Sesame Street. My biggest thing I was a fan of in terms of Muppet stuff was Fraggle Rock. I think that was just that overlapped at the right time, and that when I was the age that was on TV.
Yeah, because I would have started when you were 3 or 4.
Yeah, so I was I watched a lot of Fraggle Rock, but I in terms of a big broad appreciation for Muppets that came along with Catherine, who I grew up with, a very important in her life, and as a big fan, and was very affected by, and still is angry about today, Jim's death. And I had probably seen Great Muppet Caper, but not the rest of the movies. I'd never seen Muppet Christmas Carol. I'd never seen Emmett Otter. I'd never seen the one where they make the movie, which is the best one.
The Muppet movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny. Yeah, and then now I've seen all of those things, and I've seen Emmett Otter 4,000 times because it's Oren's favorite movie, not Muppet movie favorite movie. Yeah, and I'd probably seen some Muppet Show, but not a lot. But it was, it was everywhere. It was unmissable.
Yeah, if anyone wants to hear Catherine talk about her love of Muppets, and specifically Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, you can go all the way back to episode 32 of this podcast from November 2021 to hear Catherine talk about Emmett Otter.
That was the day after Halloween. I was so hungover.
Yeah, you were hungover, and we watched a Christmas movie. Yeah, so you had a very weird post-Halloween experience.
It was really fun, though. I liked having Catherine on.
Yeah, that was very fun. But yeah, that was episode 32, and we're now on 172. So we've been doing this for a while.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Everything's fine.
I didn't really believe the way you were saying that there, Sam. Is that because,
I think it's because Sam's getting older and is going to die someday.
It's just weird. It's weird to think about doing this for 4 years. Mostly, you know what my number one thought is? Our poor wives. I can't believe I've been coming down here every Saturday or Sunday morning at 10 in the morning, but thank God Rachel sleeps in late on Sundays.
My wife has just told me that Sundays she considers a write-off at this point. She knows that we can't plan to really do something on Sunday because I'm going to be in here for 3 hours talking to Sam.
I'm so sorry.
It's just it's been a part of our life for 4 years now.
Yeah. I mean, it's flown by. I wouldn't want to have spent it any other way, Matt.
The only time it feels like it has dragged is when I think about the fact that 4 years ago, or I guess 3.5 years ago, we were talking with Catherine about Emmett Otter, which is from 1977. And we are now in 1988. So in the past 3.5 years, we have only cleared 11 years of Muppet stuff.
There are weeks, Hank, where we are watching basically in real time and then wondering. Really, that's when we're wondering, what are we doing?
A month of content will take a month for us to get through, and we're like, oh no, we are literally, it's impossible to catch up at this rate. So but don't want to think about it too hard.
All right, should we ask you some Muppet questions?
Yeah, sure.
This is usually, the podcast is structured a little differently, where now I would ask Sam to jump in and say, Sam, what did we watch this week? But no, there's nothing to say.
I'm holding you back. You're our moving further back. You're losing time.
Well, Sam, God, we are.
No.
Right.
I didn't think about that part. What are we doing? This is an unproductive episode of the podcast. Well, Sam, how about you ask the first question then?
Okay, Hank.
Yes.
How exactly does or would a gorilla detector detect gorillas? So Bunsen and Beaker have this gorilla detector in a Muppet Show
watched
episode.
it. Yeah.
And it can detect gorillas. Could such a thing be possible?
It could detect gorillas, but not well. Or I had so many different thoughts about this. So my first thought was we can now detect gorillas, but like it requires really complicated stuff that they like neural network stuff that they didn't have back then.
Okay.
I'm gonna need more information about.
Yeah, what does that mean? We can now detect gorillas.
Yeah.
Well, like
you said that, like everyone knows that. Of course, everyone knows we can now detect gorillas.
Well, I mean, if you had a camera that was pointed in every direction and it was going into a thing and it was like, is this a gorilla or is it a chimpanzee or is it a cat?
I see.
It would be able to detect a gorilla.
Okay.
I thought you were saying there was a machine now that could sense like the brain waves of a gorilla and say, "There's a gorilla 30 meters to the left."
I guess there's basically two ways it could work. One would be visual. And it would require it's like a 360-degree camera situation.
All right.
And the other would be like smell, I guess. And we still kind of can't do that. Like a dog could detect a gorilla, but a machine couldn't, which is amazing.
So
we
could
could
be a dog.
Not to add more pop culture on top of pop culture to prove things, but I remember in the movie Richie Rich with Macaulay Culkin, there's at one point they get like a smell detector machine.
Yeah.
And that's how they find out that there's a TNT on their plane that blows up.
Mm-hmm.
But is there any sort of real world device that can like tell you what the smell is?
Yeah, we do absolutely have like chemical sniffers, but they don't tend to work by just sucking in air. They tend to require you to take a thing, rub it on the thing, and then put it into like this happens.
So you would already have to be pretty close to a gorilla.
You would have to basically touch it to be able to have
to confirm.
To confirm
this is in fact a gorilla that's 2 feet in front of me.
Right, and maybe that is how this device works, because of course it does not actually detect the gorilla until the gorilla has gotten within inches of the detector in the
That's a good point. It doesn't work well, I suppose.
Much like a lot of Bunsen's inventions, they either work they work, but in a way that is detrimental to other people.
But it's not actually because Bunsen believes this must not be a gorilla because the gorilla detector isn't going off. But then it does eventually go off once Bunsen has been dragged away and eaten by the gorilla.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Maybe not actually eaten.
An allegory for modern times.
Indeed.
You want to expand on that there, Sam?
No.
Rather not.
I don't know what I mean exactly.
That's what I was wondering.
The easy way to detect a gorilla would just be to have it be taking pictures and then doing large language.
Well, so like if you wanted to
stuff.
Set it and forget it gorilla detector, you have a 360 camera, able to say, "Here comes a gorilla." You'd be going on your merry way, and then it would say, "Excuse me, I see a gorilla."
Like the lights and siren would go off.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I thought was that this thing didn't immediately go off because that wasn't a gorilla. It was obviously a man in a gorilla costume. And a good gorilla detector would not go off if there was a man in a gorilla costume.
He made too good a gorilla detector.
Yes.
It only detects actually, like, it checks the DNA somehow. And it's like, not a gorilla.
Or just it detects whether or not it looks like a gorilla, which that was a man with a gorilla mask on.
Yeah.
I feel like my version of this that I do own and operate is that I have, cameras on the outside of my house that tell my phone, person scene, animal scene, whatever. Yeah. It's not as specific as gorilla scene, but it can sometimes.
But it could have been.
And
like if it can tell a person.
Face, it says Matt was outside in the driveway.
Oh, it does?
Wow.
Yeah.
Man,
it'll say
like
Devin's scene when she goes to get the mail or something. And so
I feel very insecure at this moment. My house doesn't tell me when nothing.
You got to set something up first, Sam. It doesn't just happen. But I think like the 360 camera thing detecting a gorilla and then telling a device. That device could be your phone, and your phone could then be the gorilla detector.
Sure.
If a gorilla was in my driveway,
it can tell the difference between Matt and Devin. It can tell the difference between a person and a gorilla.
Yeah.
And it tells when there's an animal versus a person in my driveway. So it would definitely say, "Hey, gorilla, pretty big though." Would it say person? Would it say animal?
I think my
That'd
favorite
be
version
interesting.
of it My favorite version of it is that there's a little dog inside of there who is smelling the gorilla and then pushing a button, and it makes the alarm go off.
It's like a mechanical Turk gorilla detector. But
yeah, exactly. Maybe that's all of Bunsen's inventions are just a bunch of little dogs in there kind of turning cranks and stuff.
Like the mail sorting machine in Men in Black.
Yeah,
exactly. If you unravel it, there's really just a creature inside of all of his machines making something happen for him.
Not? Yeah. Why not? It was good enough for Fred Flintstone. Fred
Flintstone.
Yeah, that's good enough for Bunsen.
Oh yeah, but I also feel like I would be, everyone likes to bring this up when the gorilla detector comes up, that it looks exactly like Donkey Kong.
Yes,
and it came out before Donkey Kong.
Oh,
and British people invented Donkey Kong. The way that he looks, like the Donkey Kong we know, was redesigned by Rare, which is a British company, in the 90s.
There we go.
So I don't think it's too crazy to think that a British chap saw this Donkey Kong and saw this gorilla as a child, and then it made its way into their brain.
Well, they don't destroy it either. They used. I thought that the gorilla was going to destroy the gorilla detector, but I guess it just, in case they had to do a second take, it just sort of throws it on the ground where I assume there's a bunch of pillows,
and it could still be out there somewhere.
Well, in reality, Hank, there's a person down there getting hit in the head with that, most likely.
No, because there's no one down there at that point. It's just Bunsen's been dragged off.
Oh, it's the gorilla. It's just the gorilla on stage. That's right.
So Hank, in the Muppet movie, which we just discussed, so clearly must be fresh in your brain. Hopefully you remember this scene. At the end, Animal becomes absolutely enormous after taking some of Bunsen Honeydew's Instagrow pills, which are conveniently located in this small western village they happen to wander into. But before that, Bunsen shows us that the Instagrow pills do work by showing us a 4-foot prune off to the side. And he explains that, like, yes, see, look, Instagrow pills make things big. How would Instagrow pills work on a prune which cannot swallow them?
I mean, I got other problems here, but but they're also.
I would love to hear what other problems there are with this flawless scientific.
I feel like the prune
experiment
would be a lot easier to get Instagrow than something with bones.
Yeah, for sure. But there's lots of different ways to give medicines to plants. I'm not worried about this part. You know, you could spray it on the foliage. You could inject it into the trunk. You can do a root dip. That's one sort of sort of. Once you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Way of getting a medicine into a plant. And so there's also stuff that we do to plants now. I think I actually didn't look this up beforehand. This just occurred to me. But I think that we spray grapes, the fruits, with a thing that makes them not have seeds. So we spray them with a please don't grow seeds substance. And that works. And I think that you could also, I could absolutely see just spraying the sort of fruit bud itself with some kind of growth factor and having it grow extra big. But interestingly, what I did look up is whether or not animals and plants share any growth factors, because of course we have a common ancestor way back, and kind of they're not super. They're not exactly chemically the same, but they are definitely related molecules. And so it isn't that nuts to think that a growth factor that would work on a plant would also work on an animal.
What would happen if I ate fertilizer?
Well, that's totally different. So I'm talking about a plant hormone and an animal hormone that are related compounds. If you ate fertilizer, I think that this would not help.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that is how you would normally grow a big plant, I have to say. But it's not the only. I think we do use some plant growth factors.
Well, how does animal get so freaking big when he eats them, and then go back to normal? That would hurt, right?
Going back to normal.
Going back to normal seems like it would be really hard, and also potentially dangerous. Animal, for one thing, what we know is that animal couldn't grow without eating a lot because of the law of conservation of matter. So just at the a fundamental physics basis, he's not going to grow without also.
Just a pill alone's not going to do it for him.
Yeah, correct. Unless there's a bunch of air in there.
Oh, that could be.
Just blows up like a balloon.
But he also does eat a lot of stuff, including
It's true.
Not, he eats
it's
toys.
It's not like he's ever like far between meals. And perhaps Animal can digest things that a normal person.
He is like one of those people who eats bikes on TV or whatever.
Yeah, it just falls right at the bottom of him. He's fine. Like Cookie Monster. Do you know, Hank, that they built a giant animal head for that movie? Like giant, and nobody knows where it went. That's one of the things we're trying to figure
it's
out.
multiple mysteries because we have heard the story multiple times from like people who were on set that they actually built a gigantic animal head that had to be puppeteered by like multiple people. And if you watch it, it looks convincing. Like it does not look like they shot Animal and blue screened him in. Like it looks big. But there are no behind the scenes pictures or videos of that giant animal head. And so there's no context to what that would look like outside of just watching the movie. And there's multiple things we have asked mysteries for people to solve on this podcast, and none of them have been solved yet, unfortunately. Can you find a photo of giant animal puppet is number one. Number two is apparently Jim Henson used reading glasses, and none of us have ever seen a picture of Jim Henson wearing glasses. So if that's out there.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
There's some people who they're like in history back before photos were common who were only photographed in very specific circumstances.
Yeah. Like presidents, Jim Henson, I understand. They're very careful with their public image. But we've talked to people who worked with Jim Henson and saw the man when he was wearing glasses.
Yeah.
And so we know this to be true.
There were a lot of cameras around back then. It wasn't like
this man is not like now lacking for photographs of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if anyone hearing this hearing this mystery for the first time, listening to this episode, does have access to or information about that giant animal puppet,
I don't believe it. I think it was I think they did it.
That's my worry.
I just put a thing in the chat.
I know, but that doesn't. I read that already. I mean, I read it just now when you posted it.
You can see like the thing at the bottom there, at the bottom of the head. That's different,
That's his like collar.
Is that just his collar?
I think that's his collar.
He always wears that. It does look a little
still
different.
from the movie, I think.
Oh, okay.
It does look different maybe a little different than normal, but that is just his collar.
Yeah. But it's I feel like
we got to get Captain Disillusion on this.
I mean, that would be great.
Yeah.
I feel like even Frank Oz in interviews I have seen with him talking about this, he just says, yes, it was a big puppet, and that he didn't do the puppeteering because he couldn't.
It was like a different thing.
It was other people who were like more, using ropes and pulleys.
Yeah.
But that's as much information we have. It's just people have confirmed that it was big. And I think we've heard as big as 60 feet, which seems not real because even measuring from the ground to the top of the head wouldn't be 60 feet in that scenario. But also
I think it's like a 6 foot tall head.
Yeah, I would say almost maybe even 10.
Yeah.
Like it's almost a story tall. But
I guess if that's an actual building.
It's hard to know.
That's
the thing too, is like how could it be a 5 foot head and then they just film it like a miniature and make it look even bigger? But
then why not
never
just use
know.
the regular puppet at that point? But anyway.
Yeah. Hopefully one day we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, I got another one for you.
Okay.
How are there regular humans, Muppets that are human, like Statler and Waldorf, and then regular Muppets? Is there a difference between regular humans and Muppet humans outside of appearance?
I think that like just in the same way there's a difference between pigs and Muppet pigs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's like the if you want like a canonical science explanation for this, it has to be that they're not from around here.
Now, when you say not from around here, you mean alien.
Yeah.
So like Statler and Waldorf and all other Muppets are aliens
who are
Every
just pretending
Muppet is
to
an
look
alien.
like they look like they're taking on the appearance of Earth.
No, it's just like on their planet they happen to have
similar form factors.
Yeah, and then
They're
it's
not
also not
Transformers.
like you've
They
also
didn't
got
show up.
You've
and
also
scan
got
an old man and go take the form of this old angry man.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a Muppet Allspark out there somewhere.
Ooh, there's the comic book Sam and I get to write.
Yeah. I mean, I think this will feed into a question we talk about later where it's like Pokemon. All Pokemon are the same species, basically, who also might be from space. And that's why they can like mate with each other. It's just that they are all
got a different situation going on. Yeah,
different looks of the same ant creature technically.
I mean, this takes it like all questions get answered by their aliens. So we may not want to go there because it makes everything quite easy to answer. It's like,
it does address like 5 of the other questions we have for you. If like we say all Muppets are the species Muppet.
Yeah.
And these are just various breeds of Muppet. Is a Statler. Oh, yeah, I got
That's an old man
Elmo.
Muppet.
I got a Big Bird. Like it's like a pug versus a Great Dane. Like it's just so I think I don't know if I subscribe to that theory, but it does help answer some of these unanswerable questions, I think.
Well, it might help you get to the root of the lore. If like nothing seems to make sense and it's like, well, maybe aliens.
It does open the door for a great origin movie or story in some way.
There's
in the 50s, what actually happened at Roswell was the Muppets landed. The little green men.
It was Kermit the Frog.
Oh my God, that's a good idea.
And we can make like a black and white,
grainy
Day the Earth
film.
Still, moments.
They're not dissecting him. They're just like sitting having a cup of coffee with them.
Tea, I think. It has to be tea.
Guy.
It has to be the tea.
Little teacup.
This is the modern day, and we have to reference memes in our movies 5 years late.
He's got to be drinking the big iced tea.
Brought to you by the team who's making the new Smurfs film. Here is your Kermit meme movie. Well, now it's going to be hard for me to forget that theory as we talk through some of these other questions.
Well, but there's Muppets from space where one Muppet specifically is from space and the rest of them aren't, which is also a problem because Gonzo's not any weirder than a lot of other Muppets that there are.
When Kermit says he's like from Mississippi, so is he lying?
Too.
Well, I mean, maybe he's lived there for a while.
Yeah.
I say I'm from Montana.
That's fair. Yeah. I am getting to that point now where for a long time, I would still say I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
But it's getting a lot harder to say that as I've been here for like 12 years.
Yeah. Well, when you're here, you can say you're from Chicago. And then when you're other places, you can say you're from Montana.
I say I live in Montana.
Yeah. Because he has that Chicago pride.
I can't turn it off.
You have a Chicago.
What if? Can I hit you guys with an alternate theory that maybe the Muppets are a kind of puppet?
I mean, crazy theory, Hank. Say more.
So, like, Statler and Waldorf are like people, but they are a puppet version of people. And Kermit is like a frog, but he's a puppet version of a frog.
I mean,
I think that's what they like in the early days. They used to say they came from Muppet Land.
Oh,
well, we've also had plenty of times where the Muppets have referenced being puppets in some way.
I think a big part of why there isn't an established lore is because part of the art of it is being like, we dare you to think these are just puppets. Like, you can't do it. You can't look at guys who are just puppets. We'll tell you over and over again.
It's like we made puppets so good that we can tell you they're puppets and you still kind of don't believe it.
Yeah, we can be standing in your eyesight and you'll still be looking at Kermit and being like, I love you so much. I would die for you.
We see it time and time again with adults and children. Like you see, kids on Sesame Street talking to Kermit or Grover or whoever, and they're not staring down the entire time at Jim or Frank. They're looking right in the eyes of that frog or furry monster.
Yeah.
And we have talked to you on this podcast, and we have I know people who have interacted with Muppets, and they say after 5 seconds, you stop thinking about the puppeteer who might be right there in front of you as well.
Yeah.
Like Hank had the pleasure of talking to Big Bird, who it's very easy to not imagine the man inside that suit.
Yeah.
But when you're talking to Elmo or whoever, and you see a guy crouched on the floor
next
to you.
Yeah.
People like Larry David, it's very easy apparently to forget that there is a human inside of that puppet. Even Larry David, who hates Muppets apparently, did for a moment forget that Elmo wasn't real.
Yeah.
He wanted to punch a 3.5-year-old.
Yeah.
Not a 35-year-old in the hand.
Yeah. Maybe the lore is all very dependent. I'm sorry that I'm getting in on this much broader, deeper conversation that I feel kind of unqualified for.
This is what the podcast is, Hank.
Maybe
this is all we do.
The deepest Muppet lore is that is this relationship between the creators of these, the creators and the performers, and our own mind's inability to see it as a performance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now I think the problem is I want to go down this road, but this will be the rest of the episode.
Sure. Let's do more science questions.
I think I'm going to steer us away from it with
Yeah.
a hopefully easier one to answer that won't break our brains too much.
Sure.
Pepe is a king prawn.
Or is he?
Well, we'll find out.
Oh, okay.
Because he gets very mad
whenever
somebody refers to him as a shrimp.
Sure. And this is actually a vote in favor of them not being aliens.
Okay.
Because he clearly
he is a king
maybe
prawn.
He all-sparked himself. Maybe he like transformed himself into a king prawn, and he's like, I very intentionally did not transform myself into a shrimp when I came to Earth.
Right.
But
somebody asked us to ask you, what are the differences between shrimps and prawns that make it easy for us to not make this mistake if we were ever to talk to Pepe?
Oh, well, I think that the big thing is, basically, if you spend a lot of time with shrimps and prawns, it's really easy to tell them apart. If you don't, it's very hard. Like, it's the kind of thing where after a little bit of time, you're just like, oh, like, why would you even think that those two things were the same thing? But then but like the differences are both obvious and subtle. So like they have a different number of front legs.
What's the numbers?
I think that the prawn has 3 sets of clawed legs. So they have all those like belly ones.
Okay.
I'm not talking about those. In the front, they have like actual sort of usable, not just like swimmy legs, but like usable grabby legs. And I think prawns have 3 sets of those, and shrimp have 2. There's like a body segment that like a prawn's body segments all overlap the next one down, and shrimp, they have a body segment that is like above all of them and overlaps in 2 directions. And then like prawn tend to be bigger. They live in fresh water is a big one. If you're actually like in the world, and you're like, if you're in salty water, it's probably a shrimp. If you're in fresh water, it's probably a prawn. So that would be a way, but not like by visible stuff. Weirdly, shrimp and prawn, they're pretty distantly related to each other. So like a shrimp and a prawn are further apart in like since their last common ancestor than humans and chimpanzees by a long stretch.
Well,
which does not feel like reality, but they just haven't been evolving super fast during that time. They are well suited for their environments, so they don't need to change much, like crocodiles and alligators. But they are but they do, like, to me, I'm looking at this and I'm like, those look like the same thing.
Right.
Prawns tend to be a little bit bigger, but the big difference is the bodies are like a shrimp body is a little more curvy and a prawn body is a little more straight.
Okay.
But
I think that's a point on, like, because my sub question to this was going to be, does Pepe fulfill more?
Oh, that's a great question.
Of the prawn criteria than he does of the shrimp criteria.
Yeah.
I just sent you a link in the chat.
I
think.
Is it him without clothes on? Because that would be helpful.
Oh, it is. Yes. Yes, it is.
It is. Well, that's concerning. Maybe I was wrong about the prawn versus shrimp. I think that he should have more arms than that.
He definitely should have more, because he should have a lot of little belly legs, regardless of which one he is. But they can only puppeteer so many arms at one time.
Yeah. He should have 3. And honestly, I don't think it would be that hard to puppeteer 3 sets rather than 2 sets, because you just have them all on strings.
You could have them linked together, which I imagine is often the way Pepe is puppeteered.
He's mostly just using 2 of them at a time, probably.
Yeah, I think his arms are probably attached to each other.
Yeah, and a 3rd set would be pretty easy to manage.
Yeah,
I think maybe Pepe is so sensitive about this because he might be a shrimp.
Oh.
And maybe because king prawn, he always specifies the king prawns.
Yeah.
Also, so maybe he would rather be a king prawn because of more like the context of being a king versus a shrimp. No one wants to be called a shrimp.
Oh my God, you guys!
Oh no,
a king prawn Oh, no. It is a species of prawn, but they're called white-leg shrimp, but they are not shrimp. They are prawns.
Oh, okay.
This is a very common thing with shrimp and prawns is that, like, people call a prawn a shrimp and a shrimp a prawn all the time.
That's Pepe's main problem.
And so king prawn are also called white-leg shrimp, but they are a species of prawn. For a second, I thought they might be a shrimp.
So maybe it just doesn't even matter. Is that the answer?
I think it matters to him. Pepe. Yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's whether or not scientifically it's okay versus is it cool with Pepe to call him a shrimp? Clearly, he has laid down the line. He doesn't like being called the shrimp. But technically, king prawns could be called the shrimp, and no one else would bat an eye.
He's kind of a bad-looking little guy. I don't like looking at Pepe.
Yeah, having that naked picture up for too long is. I did close that tab a little bit.
I don't really know what his deal is. I don't know why they made him or why he exists.
Apparently, this image was created by Heritage Auction, so you could have owned that.
Somebody probably does.
Yeah.
Oh, certainly.
Somebody has a naked Pepe in their living room.
Somebody's probably married to it.
Yeah. Somebody spends a little bit too much time looking at this thing.
I think it's us in the past 12 minutes.
Yeah. We are in the top 1% for sure of people who spend time looking at this image.
That is so true of so many things we do on this podcast. It's just like no one else is doing what we're doing right now.
Just like one of those Google trend things where every Sunday it's like New Zealand.
Naked Pepe. Naked Gonzo. Every Sunday around 10 a.m.
There's
naked
a weird
Muppet
spike
trends.
in naked Muppet Google searches.
Yeah. All right. Ready for the next question?
Yes.
How does the Fraggle cave system work?
Oh,
Is it a hollow earth thing or a portal thing that Fraggle holes can appear in different parts of the world, but always connect to Fraggle Rock? I mean, that is objectively what it is. Every Fraggle hole leads to the same place, I would say.
But is it a hollow earth or a portal?
I have a really hard time with this one not leading to aliens.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
This is definitely, if it is technology and not magic, it is technology far beyond our abilities.
I think it could be not aliens, but perhaps just a race of ancient, highly technical,
sure, yeah, some kind of like center of the earth.
Yeah.
Like there's the conspiracy theory that that there's like a second Earth on the inside of the Earth.
Oh,
like a mole man situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like a mole man situation. But I think that it's supposed to be sort of like Shangri-La-ish. It's supposed to be like kind of utopian and
hey, where's the SciShow episodes about that?
They're hidden. They won't let them off the drives.
We do have that video of I think we did a video on the sort of the subsurface ocean. So people talk about like all the water that's down there, but it's not actually liquid water that you could swim in. It's water that's all bound up with clays.
But you've also done a video on the deepest hole ever dug, which is not actually, in context to Earth, that deep.
It's not that deep.
So who
knows?
knows?
Could be Fraggles down there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have direct measurements, but we have lots of indirect measurements. So like how earthquake waves propagate through the Earth tells us about the structure of the interior of the Earth.
There's no Fraggle-shaped little waves on those things where it's like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
A little boober in there.
Yeah, I mean, even then, though, like you'd have to travel a very long time to get to all the different places that the Fraggles go, and it doesn't seem like it takes them that amount of time. So,
and there's no lava spewing anywhere in Fraggle Rock, so they're pretty near the surface, I think.
Yeah, it'd be very hot otherwise.
Mud pots and stuff like that sometimes. So
yeah, if anything, we learned that it's actually quite cold in there because they've almost frozen to death multiple times.
Which is not really how it works once you get at all deep. It's hot pretty quick.
Yeah. Nice, too hot down there. One interesting thing I think about the doozers is that they mention that the doozers used to be like a war-making species before they decided to just build. Like they used to build weapons, but now they just build fun stuff for no reason. So maybe
we also get the ancient other Fraggle clan at one point who are much more prone to battle. Than our Fraggles who just like to dance and
there's
play.
Definitely a history of violence with all of those creatures down there that they have grown past.
That feels very Cold War to me. That feels like that's exactly the kind of lesson you want to be teaching kids at a moment when we aren't quite sure if we're going to make it.
Jim Henson literally said he wanted to create a show to stop wars.
Yeah.
And that was the intention behind Fraggle Rock.
Gotcha.
So that was his intention, was to make a show that was like so emotionally intelligent that people would watch it and go, oh, Why are we all fighting?
Can I say, I don't think that there's nothing there. I think that a little bit of like having a bunch of people raised on the sort of the like in the midst of the Cold War has made my generation pretty averse to the sort of global scale wars that we used to have and were worried we were going to have in the 80s. I remember telling my mom, I'm so glad that I was born after the Cold War. And she was like, you weren't. You like were raised during the Cold War.
Yeah.
I feel like I've made fun of him in the past for saying that in good, I think it's a great goal too, but it is a multi-generational goal, I suppose. Like you don't know if it works until those kids grow up and start making decisions.
And I don't think Jim Henson was like, after 5 seasons of this show, I bet there won't be any wars.
There was probably part of him that was like, I could do this, I think.
By season 3, he's like, shit, this doesn't seem to be doing anything. Not moving the needle at all. Well, a little bit more of a basic sciencey one, maybe. According to Rainbow Connection, rainbows are visions.
Yes.
But only illusions. And rainbows have nothing to hide. So the question is this all true?
I don't think so. I mean, rainbows definitely have nothing to hide. They're like, I am what I am. There's like, you could see however much
back
of me
the rainbow.
There's maybe the rainbows may have a little bit to hide, which is that whatever light that is coming through the atmosphere that is being produced by the sun, that is not visible light, so any infrared or ultraviolet, is also part of the rainbow, but we can't see it.
So like mantis shrimp would see a different rainbow than we see.
That's correct. So maybe rainbows have a little bit to hide.
But nothing sinister. Just a little bit more fun.
Just a little more rainbow.
Yeah.
And then as far as are they visions? I don't think so. I think that a vision is something like when I think of a vision, my first definition, top definition of vision is like something that is not real that I am seeing.
Yeah, your brain is tricking you into seeing it.
And in the same way, an illusion is something similar to a vision that like is something my brain is tricking me into seeing. But a rainbow isn't an illusion. It is really you are seeing the real light. An illusion would be like an optical illusion where you are seeing things that are not there. Like there's those like a bunch of cool ones where you're looking at it and then there's a color off to the side, but if you look right at the color, then it's not actually there. Or the way that like a box looks taller if it looks like the same box with the same dimensions looks taller.
But now I'm starting to unravel a bit because I'm like, but that's also there. Like it's there for
your brain
because
is seeing something different than what is actually
and what
there.
is literally in front of
That's
you.
what an optical illusion is. It is your brain seeing a thing that is not misinterpreting reality.
But if multiple people can see the
correct
same
interpretation of light.
Okay.
Oh wow, that's a good question though, Matt. If multiple people can see the same thing, when is it there? Well, because, an allegory for our modern times as well.
Like walking up to a rainbow,
isn't
necessarily like. You can't walk up.
It's not a physical object, but it is real.
Right.
It is real light. It is light that is coming off of raindrops. You are seeing something. You are just seeing raindrops. What you are seeing isn't a rainbow. It's a bunch of colored droplets of water.
All right.
There are illusions in like the stage magician sense where it is like Pepper's Ghost Illusions or something where it's like kind of like a hologram where it's projecting light somewhere else.
So I guess you could say it's a kind of illusion because it is interpreted by the brain as something that it is not. Okay.
What visual spectrum can frogs see in? How much of the rainbow is Kermit seeing?
Frogs do have different a different situation than us. I think that they only have there's like the light sensing, there's like the color sensing cells. We have a low light sensor that is, I don't know if it's the rod or the cone, but it's one of those two. And we only have one of them. And then we have the bright light sensors and we have 3 of those. I think that frogs have 2 of each. So they can see in color, I don't know if this is all frogs, but this is a weird thing about some frogs, is that they can see in color in very low light, which we can't do. And then they can also see in color in bright light, but they do that with 2 different sensors. And I think they might only I think that they can see fewer colors than us, but they can see more in the dark.
So
a rainbow
Kermit's
would
seeing
look
a pretty
different.
good rainbow still.
Yeah, they're still seeing a rainbow.
Yeah.
Not
Rolf,
maybe
however,
as good.
Rolf's not seeing a great rainbow.
It's like, what are you guys talking about?
It's just, that band, that slightly brighter band.
I mean, I also just take, I have issues with that song regardless because there's not that many songs about rainbows and what's on the other side.
Yeah,
there's one. So, come on.
Well,
Paul
there's
Williams.
two.
What's
now,
the second one? What's the other
this one, right?
Oh,
wait, what are we talking about?
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Yeah, that's one.
And
what's
and
two?
Rainbow Connection.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's others. There's a lot of songs, but there's only two big hits.
Why are there so many when you're the second one?
Wow, I can't think of any song.
That is a little troubling now that I'm thinking of it. This is Rainbow Connection is probably my favorite piece of Muppet
It's
media.
a great song. Yeah. I just when you break down the
lyrics. Why are there so many songs about rainbows? There's one. There's one song about. It's just very popular.
Be like, why are there so many songs about espresso?
Why is
it's like, well, there's one.
I know that there's one big one. There's probably some others.
Yeah. Why are there so many songs about pink pony clubs?
Why is that one song about rainbows so popular? That's what they meant.
Yeah.
Wow. Espresso is a song, I gather.
Oh, Sam.
Oh, yeah, Sabrina Carpenter.
I'm a little behind these days.
Here's what
40 years.
I stopped in the 2000s.
Yeah. Whenever Bruce Springsteen last released an album is when Sam stopped listening to music.
No. Leave me alone.
Okay, The Strokes.
Yeah.
I'll go more recent for you.
Well, I only listen to the first two Strokes albums. They kind of get bad after that. All right. When Big Bird and Elmo get vaccinated, would they use the same vaccine as each other or different vaccines?
This is a good question. And it is another vote in favor of these organisms being from Earth, because if you're not from Earth, you wouldn't probably coronavirus. Well, not probably. Coronavirus definitely couldn't infect you.
And we've seen them be vaccinated. Is that the source of this question?
Well,
they
I don't know that
we've
seen on screen a needle go into Elmo's arm.
Yeah.
But they did a very big COVID-19 special in 2020 talking about go get vaccinated and take care of yourselves. And so we have references to Big Bird and Elmo getting the vaccine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't assume they would lie about that.
Yeah, but they would definitely get a different vaccine than people would. I mean, Big Bird definitely would. So assuming that Elmo is some kind of mammal,
I mean, I know that makes sense, but I also never thought about it like that, and I don't. Nope. Okay.
What else would he be?
I know, but now I'm just like
thinking about nipples. Are you thinking about nipples right now?
Well, no, I wasn't, but now I am. I was more thinking about bird thing, and Elmo had to come out.
Elmo has parents.
Yeah,
he was all wet. He was real wet.
Yeah, did he have hair? Did he have hair? Did the hair come later?
Elmo. Was he a hairless Elmo when he was birthed?
Oh, little slimy hairless Elmo.
Or maybe he just had a little tuft of red hair, just like
that's the fan art request from this episode. If anyone wants to draw newly birthed Elmo,
it's not challenging when you think about Miss Piggy being a mammal, though, because she has boobs.
Right? Because pigs, you're like, I understand.
She has boobs.
Yeah,
right. But she's only got 2.
She's only got 2, which is weird.
Well,
pigs have like 45 nipples.
That's not necessarily confirmed that she only has 2. There's no.
We've seen her wear some tighter fitting outfits.
Oh, we've seen her belly. You're right. We've seen her.
But I think we're getting too far into the Miss Piggy nipple conversation, and not enough about the Elmo versus Big Bird mammal bird situation.
There's a bunch of differences in how you design a vaccine for different species. So like we make vaccines for other species all the time. People don't maybe think about this a lot, but we give vaccines to farm animals like crazy because we do not want them to get sick. And you can't give a pig vaccine to a person. But not just like ethically.
Right, yes.
They do some things to fine tune them. But like if you gave I don't know. My sense is that if you gave a pig vaccine to a person, pigs and people have a lot of physiological similarities, that there's a pretty good chance that it would actually do something. But bird vaccines are definitely done differently, and like they have to do some different stuff to make them work right for birds.
I imagine the dosage for a giant 8-foot tall bird would also be quite different from even
like a milk.
If you got like a 3-foot tall mammal
Yeah.
versus an 8-foot tall bird, I feel like the dosage would have to be different at least.
Yeah, maybe. I like the thing is that it is more about calling the immune system to the site of the injection. And so it's really about the site that matters rather than the whole body. So a vaccine isn't something that has to like affect every cell in the body. It's something that has to call the immune system to it to say, hey, identify this. And then once that's identified, so that their dosage might not be as big of a deal.
It's not
as
like a trank dart.
Yeah. Not like a
trank dart you need to take down Elmo versus Big Bird would be different.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yes, that's a good.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
When they get out of control.
Yeah. So I think that there's, but what I'll say is, I think that it would be maybe specifically difficult to make a vaccine for Elmo. So I'm glad that they worked hard to do that because there don't seem to be a ton of Elmo-like creatures.
Elmos, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's a hairy monster, so
maybe just all the hairy
on
monsters
Sesame
get the same
Street,
ones.
like Grover and Elmo, Harry,
Grover and
probably all.
Elmo.
Oscar, who I'm gonna bet probably didn't get vaccinated. If anyone on Sesame Street's probably not. Is
He's
gonna
like,
be
I like
Oscar.
natural immunity.
Yeah, I live in trash.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I get all the old vaccines you guys threw out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I can cobble one together.
Yeah, just dripping one syringe into another, and like you're smoking the end of a cigarette. Yeah.
Well, I think this is also one of those that, again, if we define them as like a Pokemon, they're all one species, becomes a different kind of problem to solve.
Yes.
Or if they're aliens, it's a different problem to solve. Which was
if
another
they're
part
aliens,
of the question.
then it was all performative because they couldn't be infected by COVID.
So, okay, so this brings into a bigger discussion of...
Same if they're puppets, by the way.
Yeah. Puppets, as far as we know, do not need vaccines.
Yeah.
So, if we're in the world in which the birds and the mammals, which are the furry monsters, would need different vaccines, which one would Gonzo get? The furry monster one or the bird one? Because we don't have very clear answers on what Gonzo is, but he's furry and he looks like a bird.
Does he look like a bird?
That's what
people call him like a blue turkey sometimes because
and
they're also not sure.
He is fond of birds in a way that
other birds would be.
Yes, in a way that am I correct in saying that Gonzo is sexually attracted to chickens?
Yeah, he's married, basically married to a chicken.
Camilla and him have been together since the 70s.
Yeah.
He has also been, unfortunately, attracted to Big Bird in one instance.
Ooh.
But he's also, we've seen him be attracted to cows. He's attracted to Piggy. So I think he's not too discerning.
Farm animal kind of is his general.
All of this makes me feel better about the idea that perhaps they're aliens who like scanned an Earth thing. I think you'd have to work with Gonzo's physiology specifically, just like
he might also be canonically from space. He might.
This is Matt and I had this conversation over text about this question.
Okay.
Hank is on alien
where
side.
I was like, Gonzo's an alien, but now I'm like, all Muppets are aliens.
Yeah, right.
So.
It went further in the other direction than I anticipated. I was expecting to try and push you back onto Gonzo's not an alien. He's just a weird guy.
Yeah. Well, but like there's a bunch of them that are weird guys, right?
Yes, exactly.
Scooter is the example we like to bring up, that like Scooter is also not really human like in the way that Statler and Waldorf are.
And he's not recognizably any sort of animal.
Right.
So, and all the Sesame Street monsters are in the similar boat.
Yeah.
Right. And you've seen Elmo's mom, right? Like Elmo's mom doesn't look that much like Elmo, but does look like a Scooter type, you know?
Well, she's got orange fur. So that trait did not get passed on. But Elmo's dad, his genes are strong. Because he looks pretty much like a grown-up Elmo.
Strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
She kind of has a Grover look to her. I don't think I ever really have taken
I guess a Grover type.
We're still in the era of Sesame Street before they decided to give Elmo parents.
Yeah.
They don't give Elmo parents until the 2000s. So for a long time, Elmo's just a guy who lives around Sesame Street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Abby Cadabby is also a Grover type Muppet.
But she's also a fairy, which brings magic into the equation, which we, we don't have any Abby Cadabby questions for you, but
I haven't gone to magic because that's not my brand, but like obviously there's another solution to all of these problems, which is magic.
It can be a world of science and magic in the Muppet land, I think.
Sure, but like that's not what I'm bringing to the table.
Yeah, that's not why we have Hank Green on here to talk about magic. All right, so moving on from trying to figure out what the hell Muppets are, in Labyrinth, there is a bog of eternal stench, which in the movie is described as basically if you touch it, you will stink forever.
Yes.
And someone wanted to know if this is at all realistic. Is there any known substance that if you touched it would leave you permanently stinky?
Well, we were just talking about magic. Labyrinth is definitely a movie about magic. And I think that magically, absolutely, that this is the kind of thing that I think could fit into a lot of different magic systems in a lot of books and movies I've seen. So
feels like a Magic the Gathering card.
Yeah, 100% in a magic land, yes. In a real world, probably not. I don't really see how it could happen. There are some genetic conditions that make you stinky.
Oh.
And so if it was like a CRISPR situation where you were infected by a virus that inserted like an abnormality into your genome and then made you produce a bad smell forever, then yes, you would then stink forever. That's it. That's as good as I can get though, because like there's a lot of stuff that's gonna make you stink for a long time, even as long as you still have all of your skin and hair that you currently have. But like your skin and hair turns over. Your skin turns over really fast. So like stuff that's really stable and that binds strongly to the proteins of your skin. You could imagine something like that, some like gross sulfur compound that would smell really bad for a really long time and be very hard to wash off. But over the course of a year, all that skin's going to be gone and you'll have new skin. But your hair, you'll still have some of that old hair, and like you could imagine something that would still. But if you shave your head and you shave all your hair, then you're then like you need something. Maybe you could have something that like penetrates deep into like the fat layer and binds to the fat of your like subcutaneous layer, and then slowly off gases over time. Even that though, you're going to burn through and replace. Not like in less than the scale of your lifetime.
Oh, is there any specific stuff that you know of that would make you stink for a long, long time?
Yeah, I mean all the thiols, which are like sulfur compounds. There's chemicals with names like putrescine and cadaverine.
Wow, cadaverine.
These are actual like chemical compounds, and you can like look and see they're like small molecules, and they smell extremely bad. And the reason they smell bad is because they are produced when stuff gets broken down by bacteria, and we have a strong physiological reason to not consume things that have started to decay because they will make you very sick. So we can smell those things very strongly to ward us off from any sense that there might be a little bit of these chemicals in them.
So cadaverine is literally the smell of a rotting
of a body?
Animal flesh?
Rotting animal flesh, yes.
Whoa.
And
see, my understanding, or at least I think the implication of the Bog of Eternal Stench is that it's much more farty. Because that's the sound it's making. It is burping and farting essentially.
Yeah, I mean, you're just gonna have a lot of hydrogen sulfide in that situation, probably. Like that's like the way that like rotten egg smell of any
like a
old
sulfur smell.
Geyser system.
Yeah, I think of it as a very Yellowstone-y smell for sure.
Yeah,
they don't seem to be. They don't like being close to it. They are covering their noses, but they don't seem to be being harmed by just walking around it. And we see Sir Didymus has been hanging around there for a while, so I think
he's
it's not toxic fumes or anything.
Yeah, he's okay though. That's right.
Yeah.
You know what? I watched 2 movies this week that both said that when you smell a fart, you're smelling it's poop. Is that true?
Well, I mean, in the
movies
way
said this.
Yeah,
there's more than poop, but poop is part of the smell. So, like in the same way, like when you poop, you smell the poop that you're pooping.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like there's poop in there and there's gas in there. And when you fart, it's just like air that's touched the poop.
So little mini poop is getting in your nose, though.
It's the volatiles that you smell from poop.
Okay.
But there's no like solid poop getting in your nose.
Oh, that's what the movies argued. So
that there's like poop particles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's not really how it works.
That's
but it is stuff that came out of the poop. But it's gaseous.
So you could stink for a long time, but not forever in a real world scenario.
I think it's safe
unless
to
somebody
say that,
CRISPR'd you.
Unless somebody CRISPR'd you into having a disease that
if
makes
the
your
Bog
body
of
make
Eternal
bad
Stench
smells.
somehow has something inside of there that you go down and they're like injecting you with
and there's
stuff.
just a little laboratory down there.
I mean, I could see like a sufficiently advanced technology being able to like rub a paste on your skin that changes your genome.
Yeah, it has mini micro machines.
I mean, if they're planning to essentially
like very small cars.
If they seem like they're kidnapping a baby to maybe turn him into a goblin by the end of this, they have technology.
Yeah, they could definitely alter the expression of genes at the very least.
All right.
Wow.
So yes is the answer.
Yeah. That's actually the most scientific movie of all the Muppet adjacent films.
Makes more sense than a lot of this Muppet stuff.
Well, Sam, how about you bring us back to some nonsense then?
In Muppet Christmas Carol, why are Kermit and Piggy's sons frogs and daughters pigs?
And there was somebody gave some context that they wanted to add.
This is very good context.
Given the existence of the sturtlefish, a hybrid whose parents were their last common ancestor was 184 million years ago, how difficult would it be for Miss Piggy and Kermit to have kids?
Oh, wow.
Now, I know nothing about a sturtlefish, but I read this and was like, this person sounds like they know what they're talking about. Yeah. And hopefully this helps Hank, which is why I included this information for you.
We've made a SciShow episode about
it. It is fascinating. Yeah. I don't think we've made a SciShow about the sturtlefish, which is a hybrid of a sturgeon and a paddlefish.
We have indeed. I'm watching Stefan talk about it right now.
Oh, okay.
So Hank didn't make it.
So we and like how on earth is that possible? And it turns out it's the reasons why are complicated. Frogs and pigs are further apart than sturgeon and paddlefish, even though sturgeon and paddlefish are very separate. But there's also like things that are specific to sturgeon and paddlefish where like different, like they can have a baby even though that baby is going to have different numbers of chromosomes than the parents would, which is not normal. And there's like a flexibility to their genomes that is not typical in, I wouldn't want to say more advanced,
right?
In maybe, but like more complex organisms that have a little bit more going on than sturgeon and paddlefish do. And so I think that this does lead me in the aliens direction. Mm-hmm. Now, there can be strong sexual dimorphism in animals where the females look one very specific way and males look one very specific way.
Like a peacock kind of situation, or even more extreme?
Yeah, peaca kind of situation.
Okay.
Well, there's
but there's also more extreme.
Yes,
anglerfish is a good example of like there's like a tiny male and a giant female, and there's situations all kind of like that. And then there are like some animals like pigeons that look the same for males and females. So like this,
like birds, like there's a lot of birds. Like either if they don't have a fancy plumage or something like that, it's like, oh yeah, we can't even tell.
Yeah,
we have to wait and see if it lays an egg, and now we know.
yeah, and sex is a really good way to do this because like there's a bunch of different physiological differences necessary for sex, and so you can carry other sort of less related, like it's not about the reproductive anatomy, not about like the gonads. It's about, are you going to grow antlers? Are you going to be big? Are you going to have like big, weird, shiny tail feathers? And you just carry those things along and then get them, either they're carried on the chromosome that is specific to one sex or the other. And we tend to think of this as like the Y chromosome being the male specific chromosome, but that's not the only way it's done. Sometimes they're like the Y analog would be for females. Animals, the biology does it every way possible because it's not about doing it in a specific way. It's about whatever happened to work. And then, but you would also get stuff that like if that sex-specific chromosome then codes for or increases the production of certain hormones. That hormone then triggers a bunch of stuff that's elsewhere on the genome. That is basically like the two ways that this works. There's also, this happens with non-sex specific stuff. There are some, so you could even imagine a situation where there are both girl and boy frogs and girl and boy pigs. I think that there's like it was either a moth or a butterfly that's like this, where they're two totally different morphs of the same species, and it's male and female, and they look totally different. And basically the way that this works is that all of the genes for one morph or the other are really tightly packed together on the genome. So they tend to, like when the cut is made, when the gametes are being produced, when the cut is made, they tend to go over together. And so either you get like this clump that codes for this, all of these colors and shapes, or you get this clump that codes for, and sometimes, very rarely, it splits in the middle of that clump, and then you have a morph that has a little bit of both. But that's very rare, just statistically, that the cut during the cross mixing of the parent genomes happens in the middle.
That's exactly like what the Muppets do.
Well, so I'm thinking about this now. I'm like, okay, so we've seen parents Muppets that look just like their kids. Like we've seen Elmo's dad. Emily Bear has Fozzie Bear. And so maybe we have to assume that Fozzie's dad is also a bear. And so two bears make a bear.
Yeah.
But if a pig and a frog have babies, maybe then it is separated by sex. And specifically in this case, the sex of the parent. So like the male parent has frog boys, and the female pig parent has female daughter, like
girls.
Pig daughters.
Yeah.
In this case, there's also in Muppets Most Wanted, Kermit and Piggy, there's a fantasy sequence where they imagine what their babies would look like. And we see two small babies, and one is a pink Kermit and one is a green Piggy, which is a whole other thing.
Which is how it would normally, like that'd be more like how it typically happens, because there's going to be just a ton of weird stuff.
Yeah, that's more of like a traditional, like, you know, their genes are mixing to create a baby. So,
you have a baby that looks a little bit like the mom.
Yeah, I think often we hear them referred to as figs when they talk about Kermit and Piggy having
This is also
babies.
what happens when Donkey and Dragon have kids in Shrek.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Nobody wants to see that, though. They are,
you know
so
what, Sam?
scary.
Somebody wants to see that.
They're so scary. Well,
The
somebody
Donkey
wants
Dragons?
to see the process.
I'm sure DeviantArt wants to know.
Ever since I sort of thought through the Donkey Dragons, every time I see a fantasy situation like this where kids happen, I do have a hard time not thinking about the sex.
Yeah.
Which is a problem. Because I don't think that they want me to think about the sex.
Well, and presumably dragons would have a different kind of sex than a donkey.
No, I would say that they're pretty similar, probably. Don't you think? They're both.
I mean, reptiles and mammals.
You got cloacas. You're laying eggs.
I don't know. I don't know that a dragon is a reptile.
Well, this isn't a Shrek podcast, so
I think dragons have full genitalia.
I know that's where you were. That's why I was trying to prevent this, is because I knew like dragon penis was eventually going to be where we landed in this conversation.
Not eventually, rapidly.
I don't think it's controversial to say that most people would say that dragons have dicks. And that's the way we want it to be, okay?
I have never seen one, and I don't feel like I know where it would be. So I don't think they
you guys
do.
Are lying to yourselves.
I don't think it would be anywhere unconventional.
Yeah, it would just be in the crotch area.
No, but like I've seen. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Before I say what I've seen.
Seen some things. Well, actually, let's stay a little bit on the genetic train here and talk about a different Muppet film in which Fozzie and Kermit play twins in The Great Muppet Caper.
Yes.
Now, in this, we do not get to see their mom, but we do get to see their dad.
Okay.
Who, if you have not seen,
I'm sure I have.
Google Fozzie Kermit Dad Caper. You will see this glorious man.
Oh, that's just a human.
Nope, next to the human.
No, next to the human. Yeah. So this has gone in the other direction where Fozzie's
You
and
thought
Kermit's
the guy
dad
next to him was their dad?
What are the odds?
There's
that
a guy.
thing.
That's just
There's a guy standing next to a green Fozzie Bear with the Kermit collar on, and you thought it was the guy.
Well, this is just a human. What's the big deal?
I didn't like. This is really changing everything.
Okay.
Fozzie has a separate dad though, in other Muppets content.
Right. So
Oh,
this
yeah.
We don't want to talk about that though right now.
No,
This
because
is-
this is a
yeah.
separate canon.
Yeah.
Like they acknowledge at the beginning of Great Muppet Caper that they are making a movie. Like,
Right.
welcome to the Great Muppet Caper. This is
So
a movie
we're-
we are making. This is not our lives.
Right.
But in this story, Kermit and Fozzie are identical twins.
Uh-huh.
No one can tell them apart
Yes.
unless Fozzie is wearing his hat. That's the
Yes.
only defining feature.
Mhm.
But we do see their dad, who does look exactly like Fozzie, only he has green fur, a
Mhm.
collar, and Kermit eyes.
Yes.
So
What's going on?
one,
there?
like what's going on there?
That's not how anything works. That's
But-
how Kermit and Fozzie's child might look.
Right.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
so like it's
It's like each
It's
kid
almost-
got half of his genes. It's
Yes.
like maybe did he asexually reproduce them somehow
oh okay.
Oh.
and give each of his offspring half his genes?
Yeah.
Is that a thing that would ever happen?
Well, the way that would work, so there's one that would be a clone, which is obviously not what happened. And the other way that it works is you basically self-fertilization. So Fozzie's and Kermit's dad would
Mm.
create both an egg and a sperm, and
Mhm.
then the eggs and the sperm would fertilize each other. And in two different instances, you would get two genetically distinct children that would have only DNA from this man, this
Mhm.
frog, this green
This
bear.
frog bear man. Yeah.
And so they would be genetically different from each other, but they would only have genes. And like basically, what would happen is that on some of the genome, it would be the same gene on each side, and on some parts of the genome, it would be different genes on each side. So on some parts, it would be the same as this green bear, and on some parts, it would be just like it would be basically one of the green bear's genes on both sides instead of having a different one on each side.
Mhm.
So it'd be very inbred. It's a very inbred situation. You'd have to
Mhm.
like have like babies with a relation multiple times to get this inbred. But it is something that happens in
no.
nature. Usually not in ideal circumstances. So usually in a situation where a female has no access to mates, she will fertilize her own eggs, just so that there's some chance of survival.
Mhm.
And in that case, if Fozzie and Kermit's dad did this, I could maybe see a situation where they would look pretty different from each other. I just don't, and if there's any amount of difference, then sure, let's allow for a dramatic difference. But I think a better solution to this is in the canon, which is simply that they are playing identical twins despite not being identical twins.
Right, because the extra wrinkle is that even if everything you just said was true about the reproduction, everyone in this world sees them and believes they look identical, which there's no real way to explain.
Which is very funny.
Yes, absolutely. But there is no scientific way to explain why everyone would be seeing that. Part of the question that somebody did ask in that is, are there any frogs that look like bears or bears that look like frogs where maybe this mistake could be made?
There's not any bears that look like frogs.
Yeah,
because there's not very many. There's not very
direction.
many bears, you know. But
Yeah,
there's
we
a
know
lot
all
of
the
frogs.
bears.
There's so many frogs. You know all the bears. You might know. You might actually not know all the bears. There's a couple of bears that are lesser known, like sun bears.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna say sun bears, get out of here.
So I guess in the other direction, are there any frogs that could possibly look anything like a bear?
You know, probably. I looked up. I just sort of Googled that, and I was like, yeah, that kind of looks like a little bit of a bear. They're brown, kind of round.
Yeah.
The little grumpy one, is that what you're talking about? The
Little
Yeah,
little grumpy
there's some grumpy
frog.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here's another viewer question. I want to highlight this as a viewer question. I don't agree with the question. Is Animal okay?
I feel like Animal is doing better than me.
I think better than a lot of them.
Yeah, he seems to like know what is good for Animal. He's living his best life. He's doing animal stuff. He's sort of found his niche in the band.
A lot of the other Muppets have a lot of anxiety.
He does not seem to have very much at all.
He is one of those people that, you know, I run into these people from time to time, and I talk to them about like, you know, for lack of, I feel like we have to view these as people close, like, because we can't view him as a dog. He talks.
Yeah.
But I like, you talk to people sometimes where they seem really well adjusted, and they don't have medication. They don't go to therapy, and you're like, oh, I thought just everyone was like me.
I thought everybody was messed up.
I thought everyone had some stuff going on, but some people don't feel like they have stuff going on. And somehow Animal, I think, falls into the doing fine category.
I think that he just like gets himself.
People probably ask this question because Animal maybe on the surface doesn't seem immediately okay.
I think the main thing is that Animal's found someplace he fits, you know?
Yeah.
And like he's got people around him who care about him, even though he may not be the easiest guy to deal with all the time.
Yeah, Floyd's going to feed him and take him out on a walk, and everything's going to be okay.
Well, then getting in to a bit more of a sciencey question that a lot of people actually asked about. So the Fraggles live mainly on radishes.
Yes.
And, processed radish products via doozer sticks. What capacities do their bodies need to account for such a strictly limited diet? And is this similar to any other animals' dependence, like on a singular diet? Silkworms on mulberry leaves, pandas on bamboo, and koalas on eucalyptus. Which I feel like we're about to drag pandas a little bit, but yeah,
they don't do so hot on the bamboo, do they?
No, I mean all of these animals have to have like really weird setups and really low metabolisms. Like koalas move very slow. Mm-hmm. Pandas just got to eat constantly. Silkworms also, they just constantly eat. It's just like going through them because there's not enough food in their food. And radishes would be like this. And there's two ways to deal with this. And one is to have internal friends who help you with your food. So like really complex gut bacteria ecosystems that are breaking down the complicated stuff into simpler stuff. So like complicated like cellulose and stuff into the sugars that it is composed of, and then you can digest those sugars. And I think that Fraggles could have that situation, but I always imagined the doozer sticks. What are they called? Do they have a name?
They're just doozer sticks.
Okay. Yeah. I always imagined them as like sugar, kind of.
Yeah, same.
And so I think that this is less usual, but there are situations like this. So aphids, for example, have to eat so much like of the sap to get like the necessary protein that they're actually excreting a lot of sugar. And it's the term it's called honeydew, which is unrelated to
the Bunsen
honeydew, I think. And also the melon, unrelated to the melon. I think that might be where Bunsen honeydew.
I'm pretty sure they looked at his head and said, "That's a melon."
And so there's two big problems. One is simply calories, and I think that the doozers might be processing the radishes in such a way that it extracts a huge amount somehow of like glucose from radishes, and I don't know how. And then that is like a big part of how Fraggles make it work, is that they are eating sugar sticks,
right? Because there's some binding agent that turns the ground up radishes into a glass-like sort of hard, breakable structure.
Yeah, and I would guess maybe that it's more than just a binding agent. Maybe it's some kind of enzyme that is breaking down cellulose into sugar. And that this is like maybe the doozers were very technologically advanced during their warlike times, and they have converted that technology into making doozer sticks.
They do have a lot more advanced machinery than we see anybody else have in the world of Fraggle Rock.
Yeah,
and I could see that happening. And I think for me, the Fraggles are sort of the opposite of what you're talking about like slow moving animals. Like they're constantly running around.
They're zipping around. Yeah.
They gotta have energy. They are burning off
all their calories.
Yes. So this is what makes me think that like something is going on here. And then the second problem is simply like vitamins. So stuff that you would normally need to get from your diet. Now there's some ways that you can do physiology to get some vitamins. So vitamins are chemicals that theoretically could be produced by a biological system. But our bodies don't have the ability to produce them, probably just because we get them from our environment so much that we didn't need to develop ways to produce those chemicals, but they can be produced by other organisms. So many vitamins could just be produced, and this does happen sometimes, where they are produced by that you figure out some kind of biochemical mechanism to make it if you don't have it as part of your diet, or if you have a very low amount of it. And radishes got some vitamin C. They got one B vitamin, but there's a lot of vitamins they don't have. And so you can get those in a couple of ways. You can have a gut bacteria that provided for you. You can have supplements. Maybe they're eating some more stuff, and maybe they just take a multivitamin.
It is worth noting that we see Boober cooking a lot in Fraggle Rock. There's a whole Muppet Wiki page called Boober Fraggle's Recipes.
Yeah.
And he mentions many more foods than just radishes.
Yeah.
He's making artichoke souffle.
Oh, yeah.
He's making lima bean soup.
Yeah.
He's making a lot of his things do involve radishes in some way.
Sure.
But if everyone at least gets to dip into what Boober's making, they are definitely eating more than just radishes and doozer sticks.
Yeah. And then you're going to get a lot of your minerals that way too. So radishes are not going to have a lot of minerals, but also they live underground, and so they might just get a lot of minerals just by
licking rocks.
They're licking rocks.
Just like being dirty and it getting around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If anything stinks, it's Fraggle Rock.
I don't know. They seem sort of fastidious.
Yeah, they have a big pool right in the middle where they're all
but they all swim in it constantly all the time, and it's the only
it's
source
really
of water.
ventilation.
It's circulating. And there's a big hole for the well right above them.
Yeah,
so
and then there's also that
out.
place where they go where there's a giant pile of garbage that talks. So that probably also makes it smell great.
That's true. Yeah, I feel like we don't even want to the idea of gorgs upsets so much of the Fraggle questions we have tried to answer of oh yeah, there's also these creatures the size of mountains. Do they live in the earth? Who knows?
I always thought doozer sticks tasted like Funyuns for some reason.
Wow, I picture rock candy for sure.
Yeah, rock candy.
Well, not to me. To me, it's Funyuns. And they do talk about them tasting like ketchup and stuff sometimes too. I think there's different. They're savory. They can be savory.
I mean, if they're made from radishes, they're going to be a little earthy.
Yeah,
presumably. Well, thanks, Hank,
for
coming on and letting us ask you a bunch of silly Muppet questions on our podcast.
These were great questions. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks to the
also
audience.
New Zealand's boomerang fish, I'm pretty sure, are just normal fish that he's really good at throwing in a specific way.
I think that's right.
Yeah, we didn't get into that question, but that was on the list of
for that person.
If New Zealand's boomerang fish would be a new breed of fish, specifically, bred to live outside of water and be thrown as boomerangs.
I think it's entirely Lou's just has a magic touch.
I've never been under the impression that they're alive still. You think they're alive?
I mean, I think that's what this person was asking is there a chance that these are different kinds of fish?
No, I think that they are dead fish.
I think they're quite dead as well.
They're very stiff. So most fish aren't stiff.
Yeah.
So I think these are pretty dead fish, and I think Hank is right that he can just throw them well.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, we've talked a lot about Muppets today, but I want to ask both of you, what are some non-Muppet things you enjoyed this week?
You know what? The game Civilization 7, as we're recording this, is coming out very soon. And so you know what I did is I cracked through about 12 hours of Civ 5.
Whoa, you have the ability to play 12 hours of a video game?
It was 100% all Saturday. I was really stressed out, and I was like, what if I just played like a whole game of Civ?
As two people who know you pretty well, I think Sam and I's reactions were both like, Hank had 12 hours to do something?
I mean,
Civilization is a nice game where you can do other stuff at the same time. So Catherine and I were listened to an episode of Abnormals, and I played it. And I played it while I was talking to my mom on the phone.
Steam Deck or something? Or
no, just on my laptop.
Oh, okay.
And Civ 5 can actually run on my laptop, unlike Civ 7, which I'm sure could not.
It will not, yeah. You might have to buy a new computer for that one.
Yeah, I feel like the space between turns is like, I guess I'll go to like answer a bunch of emails right now.
Yeah, it's like a meeting.
Yeah. And like I remember why I like that game, though it was a silly game because I had to install it fresh, and so I just like popped into the difficulty level of your first game, and I did some real damage to the other people on the board pretty fast.
Isn't that kind of the point, though?
Yeah,
to take over the world?
But it was not like it got not fun because I was like, this is too easy. I was like,
Are you playing against other human beings?
No, this was against the computer.
I don't think there's enough people still playing Civ 5.
Oh, there absolutely is.
I guess that's fair. I forgot there is
people.
Civ was never my world of video games, so I forget that there is such a culture around those.
There's still people playing almost everything, I would say.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's lots of games that are totally forgotten, unfortunately. But the Civ world is very, and Civ 5, a lot of people didn't like Civ 6 and they stayed Civ 5 players, and they kept making DLCs for it forever. And who knows? All those people who play Civ 6 will be like, I don't like Civ. Like 10 years from now, they'll still be playing Civ 6.
Yeah.
So that was really fun and silly, even though at the end of the end game, it was kind of boring because I had so thoroughly destroyed all of the empires that were not mine.
It's wild that, Civ 6 is 8 years old now.
Yeah.
So the idea of the last time you were able to like your life was very different 8 years ago when Civ 6 came out.
Yes.
Versus now Civ 7 coming out.
It's like, no. Oren said, how long have you been playing this video game? And I was like, today or in my life? and he was like, in your life. And I was like, I think I first played Civilization in 1999.
Whoa. And he said, well, I can't imagine. Was it black and white back then?
Yeah, and he said, so 26 years. And then he walked away.
So, Sam, what have you been watching or enjoying?
I talked about doing Groundhog Day last week, didn't I?
Yeah, you actually did not. We skipped that weekend because you were Groundhog Daying during our normal recording time. So actually, we have not talked about you Groundhog Daying on the podcast.
Yeah, so there's this thing in town at the local movie theater, the Roxy, where once a year on Groundhog Day, they play the movie Groundhog Day 8 times in a row, and you can buy a ticket to go see it. And if you sit through the whole thing and don't fall asleep, and
can't
don't
look at your phone, can't go to the bathroom.
Yeah. You just watch it 8 times in a row, and then if you do it, you get a movie pass that you get free movies for a year. So, pretty good deal. And I love that movie, one of my favorite movies. And after watching it 8 times in a row, still one of my favorite movies. You know what? I watched it with Luke, a couple friends of mine, and Rachel. We started watching it again a couple days later. We were on a call watching the movie, and then after it was over, we were like arguing about something that happened in the movie, and then we ended up watching it like half of the movie again.
Wow.
So, it's a really good movie. I love that movie. It holds up super well to repeated viewings.
I would hope so.
So if you've never seen it, I would recommend seeing it, because to me, it's like a nice reminder. I watch it probably once a year anyway, so I've probably seen it like 15 or 20 times in my life aside from this. Just a nice reminder that's never too late to be a better person, I think, is mostly what that movie's about.
Yeah, I watched it, but I watched it once.
Yeah, you watched it that same day.
Yes, I watched it on Groundhog Day, but only one time.
In solidarity.
Yes.
But I was more mad at the people in the audience who just were loud and they were talking over the movie, which is really stupid to say after watching it like 7 times, to be like, shut up, this is the best part. But they're like doing like the call and reply stuff.
It becomes like a Rocky Horror Picture Show thing.
Yeah, but some of it's pretty sweaty. They're just trying to make it a thing. Not always very successful.
Well, I've been watching a bunch of stuff since we last recorded. SNL put out a number of documentaries. They put out a really good music one made by Questlove. That's amazing. As well as a series of just sort of behind the scenes documentaries about the writer's room. They have a whole episode about the cowbell sketch. Like an entire episode of the documentary series about just one sketch. And it's very, very good. They're celebrating their 50th anniversary right now, so they're putting out a lot of documentary stuff, Muppet related. They're putting the first episode of Saturday Night Live is going to air on NBC on February 15th.
Oh, wow.
I think at like 11:30 Eastern time.
Wow.
And so the first episode does include Jim Henson's Muppets with the Land of Gorch sketch. So they'll air that on NBC soon.
What if it leads to
a resurgence of Gorch?
Yeah, people reassessing Gorch.
I mean, I can't imagine that'll be the case. But yeah, I watched that. I've also been watching a couple more episodes of Skeleton Crew, trying to get back into that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very fun. I enjoy that show a lot.
Yeah. Oren, I watched the first episode now with Oren, and I was like, this is amazing. And Oren was like, we will never watch this again.
Wow.
And I was like, what's wrong? And he was like, it's very scary. And
yeah, maybe some more like maybe the Star Wars animated stuff is maybe an easier road in, like Rebels.
I mean, he loves the movies. He just loves the original trilogy.
Darth Vader is not scary enough.
No, apparently. I think that it's like watching the kids be in trouble.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I feel like it's a very different kind of scary. Darth Vader is but
magic scary. Yeah.
So we need to thank Hank for being here on the podcast this week.
Thank you, Hank.
I feel like this is something we could definitely repeat again in the future.
Is that a threat?
there's probably more weird things to discuss.
I was thinking more that this might inspire people to come up with other Muppet-related questions that they would want Hank to answer.
Yeah.
And so
there's epic timeline, like space and time related questions we need to clear.
I don't feel like space and time is maybe.
We need to figure out what's going on with Sweetums in the Muppet movie. You know,
that could be a whole thing on its
exists on
own.
a different plane of reality.
Well, Hank, you do a lot of things. Is there anything specific right now that people should go check out in response to this?
If you liked this type of thing, I have a show that's like this that just came out recently. And I think maybe the second episode just came out. It's called Ask Hank Anything. It's at youtube.com/complexly. And it is where people come and ask me weird questions about the world. And I try and answer them with a little bit of a budget even. So I get to do some props and maybe invite some special guests to explain things. It's very fun. The first episode was with Rhett and Link. The second one is with Michelle Carré. And Michelle's episode is packed with cool stuff. She had the most props of anybody.
And say there in the trailer there are pigeons.
Yeah,
on set.
She asked how homing pigeons work, and I got to tell her about that with the help of a person who has homing pigeons.
And you know what? If you like listening to me on a podcast and Hank on a podcast, there's a podcast you can listen to old episodes of, because we don't make new episodes of it anymore. But Sideshow Tangents, there's a big years and years of back catalog.
So much tangents.
Somehow
you'll learn so much.
Even though the show is winding down, there'll be Patreon exclusive stuff rolling out in the feed for a while, I believe. So
I think that's right.
Where there's a lot of tangents you can go back and listen to, and there also will be some new stuff coming out. But
yes, movie commentaries and things like that.
Yeah, maybe the Cars 2 movie commentary will be making its way public eventually. Before we go, we need to let you know what we're watching next time. And next time, we're actually headed into March of 1988 because the Muppets only did one thing in February, and we don't get to watch it because we can't find it. So in March of 1988, we'll be checking in just a little bit on our Sesame Street friends as we watch Sesame Street Special, a Pledge Drive special that aired on PBS. And we'll also see Placido Flamingo appearing on A Grand Night, the Performing Arts Salute Public Television.
Oh, wow.
And lastly, we're going to watch another Muppet Babies video story.
Matt, why? But this one will have Robin in it. At least it'll be a little different.
This one is volume 4 and contains the stories Baby Piggy and the Thunderstorm, Baby Fozzie on Cloud 9, and even Kermit gets grouchy.
Kermit's always grouchy.
Yeah.
That's one of Kermit's main things.
I can't wait for him to tell that story to Robin, though.
Baby Kermit. Yeah, that's weird. That's not like, imagine reading a book. You're reading your nephew a book, and the book is called Your Uncle is an Asshole.
Maybe he's just going to be like, I was right, Robin. I want to tell you why I was correct in my choices.
And the book is about you. Uncle Sam gets the blues.
Oh, by the way, you're in these too sometimes.
Yeah, you're a little tadpole. Don't you remember?
Well, we also need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go check out commitment.com for all your commitment needs. And while you're listening to this podcast, don't forget to rate and review it on your platform of choice. If you'd like to get in touch with us, either solving Hank's Muppet Babies mystery or something else, you can email us at mail@commitment.com or follow us everywhere on social media at commitmentpod or at commitment.com on Blue Sky. You can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And Hank, what's your handle?
I'm Hank Green, usually, but sometimes alterations of that.
Yeah, search for Hank Green. You'll find him.
Yeah.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.